Oh, okay. So, hello everyone and welcome to this week's video. I've been having a lot of mic problems since I bought these Go 2 mics from Rode. I recorded a talk on Saturday and I got no sound out of it at all, even though the meters were working on the camera. So I've got a well, I suppose it's a professional camera, semi-professional camera, the Sony FX3 full frame, which is what you're seeing now. Yeah. So, and all the other recordings I've done with this mic for this introduction have been way distorted. So I'm trying something a little bit different. I've got the lavalier mic pointing downwards, right down near my stomach rather than up on my chest. So we'll see how this goes. This week's video is another one which is slightly well, not messed up, but slightly out of order, what I intended to do last week. So this week we're doing the healing scales, which is not its official name. The official designation is 403E, and Moderne. It came out in about 1950. It reminds me a lot of the Chryslers a little bit earlier, or maybe around about the same time. It's got a plastic or Bakelite base, which you unscrew, and then the sort of the top comes off. You'll see anyway. This one, John got reasonably cheap. They are very expensive when they're in good condition. It was cracked in 4 places. It needed cloth. It needed a good clean. It needed a valve socket, which I didn't record because it was too fiddly and my hands were getting in the way. And the volume and power switch was also pretty ratty on it, so I've had to replace that. That came down from Queensland. I toured it from Queensland, and it was very expensive at about $17 or something like that, plus postage. So I ordered 5 of them and sort of split the postage between them. So I worked out about $20 for the switch, which in my book is very expensive. But I couldn't find any others around town, so had to be. Anyway, let's get into it. I've yabbered on enough. And next week I'll finish off I have finished off the Stromberg Carlsons. I've also finished off a turntable, which I was going to include in this video, but I'll keep this one clean and separate. Okay, see you next time. So this is how I received the radio last year. This is still at the old place. It's got quite a number of paint spots on it. Now the dial was way out and it started to make horrible noises at this point in its travel. So as you can see, this is constructed like a Chrysler of this time. For the life of me, I couldn't see remember what was going on with this radio when I was working on it, but I've since found a couple of Chrysler radios, and they're very similar construction. They're a little bit earlier than this one, but much the same construction with the base like that, a very flat chassis and everything crowded in. This of course has the great big dial on the top and the speaker position, so it's sort of a wall radio as well. In the base there's those keyholes where you can mount it on the wall. So I pulled the knobs off, and this is the case coming off. It's got about 3 or 4, it's got 4 cracks in it. I think I show you 3. It's also got some very manky speaker cloth in it, which I have replaced with new old stock brown stuff. Not sure that I actually got that on video, but there you go. So it's split right down the front in 2 places, the base and the top, and then there's another great big crack up the top there. The dial cover is sort of I think it might be cellulose, but it's yeah, it's not in great condition. It's very much yellowed and cloudy. I couldn't do anything with that. John says that he might be able to get a replacement for it. As you can see, the chassis is very, very crowded, and this was part of the problem. The output tube was actually hitting the volume control. So here we are, Back to the Future. So this is where I am now, and yeah, so I point out that a couple of things on the base. It's very, very much like a Chrysler. So here's the body coming off again. I had cleaned it up a little, quite a bit, before I gave it back last year, but I hadn't repaired it. It's very thin Bakelite. In fact, it's probably the thinnest I've seen. Healing weren't known for their quality at this stage, and it went downhill from here actually. They were very much a lower end of the market, but not sort of the Aristone, Meyer type radios where they used any old chassis. Again, here's the dial glass. I have cleaned it up since last year, but as I say, it's still very cloudy, and it's also shrunk quite a bit in the round part that it's supposed to sit in. So this is the nameplate. Not sure what I'm doing here. Oh, it's the valve, yes. And has an internal antenna, a couple of loops of wire. as you can see, it's very crowded, and the tuning coil and the oscillator coil are right down in the center there, and it's almost, well, it is impossible to get to. You'd have to take a lot of things apart, and maybe even take the speaker out to, maybe, yeah. But there's a lot of stuff in there in a very small space. So it must get very, very hot. I'm pointing out the output tube, which is right jammed up against the power switch and volume control. And this example was not working very well at all. In the end, I've had to replace the volume control power switch, and these came down from Queensland, and they weren't cheap. They were $16 plus postage. So I bought 5 of them, and yeah. And this is the valve socket which I replaced, and these are the 2 valves which I had to replace, get any sort of performance out of it. As I said before, the owner should have a couple of new valves for it, so it'll have a complete set of new valves. I'm showing you without the dial plate or cover, because this is it. It's pretty cloudy. I have tried to polish it, but it won't go any clearer. It's sort of yellowed right through, I think, and yeah, it's probably nicotine again. I've also replaced the speaker grill cloth on this. Don't know whether you can see that or not. It's still missing the knob here. Should be one of these. And under this light, you can see where I've repaired the cracks, especially the back one. And there's sort of marks where something's been before or something like that. But given how much it was bought for, well under $100, I think it's come up pretty good. So I'll go to the overhead camera for you. And, oh, I should have zoomed in, shouldn't I? That's better. So, yes. It's also not tracking quite right. When I do the signal generator and put it on to 1500 and 600, the dial, as you can see, doesn't line up properly. So that's 1500 there with 3AK, and $600 is around 3AR there. Okay, so this is the dial cover, and as you can see, it's not all that crash hot. So I might see if we can arrange for someone to blow this plastic, because it is a sort of a blown plastic, I think, or it's Might be able to make a mould or something like that, and then use a vacuum one to make a new one, but I don't have anything like that, and I don't know any university or anything like that that has one. So, and it's also, this is also shrunk quite a bit over the years. It should sit in quite tightly like that around it, but as you can see, this part around here isn't sitting properly. So yeah, so 99% success. I might be able to move the tracking on this, but it's pretty tricky because of the shape of it. You can't sort of put it down flat on anything. It's sort of all balanced and all strange angles. And the IF cans are sort of at their limit, so yeah, quite pleased with this. So there's the power cord, nice gold coloured one. Now the job done.